Well, we're back at the Chef's Experiential Center in Gurgaon, Haryana, and we have with us one of our very enterprising and popular home chefs, Rekha Rigo.
The thing is, Chettinad is a very dry, arid region. And I think a lot of businessmen traveled abroad.
Right.
So you had pepper.
Right.
So it's basically pepper based,
And
a lot
star
of
anise.
star anise,
Yes.
and even fennel, which is somph. So we use a lot of that. We make chutneys out of everything. And because of the Andhra influence, we make chutneys out of ivy gourd, palak, bhindi, brinjal, and even lauki. Everything is turned, carrots, beetroots, everything, bitter gourd.
Hi everyone, I'm Suhasini Sood. Welcome to We the Chefs Food Talk with Sourish. We the Chefs is an online aggregator for home chefs with presence in Delhi, NCR and Bangalore. We have partnered with more than 300 chefs who are excited and keen to bring their food and share it with all of you. We make this happen by collecting hot, authentic, freshly prepared food from their doorsteps and delivering it to you. In this series, Sourish will be talking to a different chef every week. They will be sharing their food journey with us, how their love for food started, what they've learned along the way, and their dreams and ambitions. They will also be giving us great insights into the cuisine that they love. So let's get started.
Well, we're back at the Chef's Experiential Center in Gurgaon, Haryana, and we have with us one of our very enterprising and popular home chefs, Rekha Rigo, with us, and she and I are going to talk a lot about the cuisines of the southern states. So she's one person who represents all the cuisines, in her kitchen. Apart from, of course, also doing Goan, Parsi, and continental food. That's quite a repertoire to have. Can you talk a little bit about your cuisine style?
Style is very simple. I try to keep to my roots. The masalas are all home ground, and I try and get authentic masalas as far as possible, and every masala is done at home. But of course the presentation and maybe the way I sort of present it is different, but the taste will remain very, very authentic.
In fact, I have this theory about a masala, what I call the spice boxes.
Yes.
Each region and within it, each geography has its unique
different.
spices.
Yeah.
Say, for instance, you're talking about the Chettinad masala,
Masalas.
Say, how would it be different from, say, Guntur masala? There is such a thing,
Yeah, there is. The thing is, Chettinad is a very dry, arid region. And I think a lot of businessmen traveled abroad.
Right.
So you had pepper.
Right.
So it's basically pepper based, and
And
a lot
star
of somph,
anise.
star anise, and
Yeah.
even fennel, which is somph. So we use a lot of that. And the Chettinad cuisine, contrary to belief, is very, very simple. And it is not as spicy as it is made out to be. So
I think once it comes up to Delhi or Gurgaon, it becomes
changes.
spicy.
So they need the punch. But then pepper is, you have the pepper punch, but it's not chili hot.
Right.
Then whereas like Andhra, you have the chili punch, the green chilies.
Guntur chilies.
Guntur chilies are there,
best.
the red chilies. So the Kerala, you have the creaminess more. Although Tamil Nadu cuisine, we use a lot of tamarind.
Right.
So Chettinad, even among Tamil Nadu and the states within it, there's a lot of difference between each state. The cuisine is sort of
I guess
evolved.
Kongunadu will have a different cuisine.
Definitely, yeah.
And Chettinad, of course, has a very distinctive cuisine.
Yeah, so we do Erode side, and we have Coimbatore. All that, the Kongunadu cuisine is a little different. So Chettinad cuisine is different. Then we'll have the Tirunelveli side. So Chennai cuisine is all sort of an amalgamation of all these put together. And it's more street food culture. And it's more chatpata. So,
in fact, we have made this point when we discuss Northeast. For instance, there's nothing called Northeast cuisine.
Cuisine.
I mean, it's an amalgamation of tribal cuisines.
Exactly.
You can think of as many cuisines as there are tribes in the Northeast.
True.
Similarly, as is quite evident, even Tamil Nadu itself has so many distinct cuisine varieties or strains of culinary traditions. Which brings me to the point that, you have sort of, in your kitchen, you brought all these traditions together. There's quite a lot of work to do, isn't it?
Yes, like for example, if we talk about the biryanis, or biryani is the wrong word actually, but it's more the pulaus.
Pulao, yeah.
But we call it biryani.
Right.
There's so many different types of biryanis, even within Tamil Nadu. Then you have the Andhra. Even within Andhra, you have the Nellore style, you have the Hyderabadi.
Then you have Dindigul biryani.
Yeah, in Tamil Nadu, you have the Dindigul.
Arcot biryani.
Yes, Arcot. You have Ambur biryani. Then in Karnataka, you have the Donne biryani. So there's so much just coming from south. So it's so much
and
more
of course,
than
then Kerala has its own
Thalassery
Thalassery
biryani. So then there's so much more than idli dosas and vadas.
In fact, that's so good that chefs like you are promoting this idea that there's nothing called a unitary or nothing like a block called South Indian cuisine, which is idli, dosa, vada, sambar.
And for some reason, they think they use too much of coconut, which is not the actual thing. Because Kerala, of course, we use a lot of coconut milk and all that. We use coconut, but then it's very, very balanced. The flavors are balanced and
like you have gongura in Andhra Pradesh. It's a very distinctive spice.
I think, in fact, we the chefs, I do a lot of gongura mutton.
Oh yeah, that's very popular.
Chicken. Yes. I even branched out to doing gongura paneer and gongura aloo, because
that will shock people back home.
But it's been very well received.
Right.
We do vegetables as well. Like we make gongura pickle. We eat it with everything. It's mixed with rice, but then we eat it with a side of some vegetable or the other.
My favorite is rice, ghee and gongura pickle.
Oh, that's
this is a meal by itself.
And you need something crunchy on the side, and that's it. Your meal is done. And a glass of buttermilk to sort of soothe your tummy. So things like that, which is very, very unique. But people are open to tasting.
Right. Which is, I think, people like you have ensured that happens. Now, let's rewind to how you got into this cuisine. What is your background, and where were you born and where did you grow up, and how did all these different influences impact your culinary work, which is what you're known of.
Right.
But actually, I think you're from the garment business.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I think for the past 20-25 years, both my husband and myself have been in the garment line. I branched out into cooking, which is my passion, because the children are grown up and I have the time. And that's how.
So you tell me, you say that your family originally came from Chittor.
So
from
Andhra.
Take me back to your family history.
Okay. We are Telugu speaking people with roots in Andhra, but we grew up in Chennai. Our forefathers all belong to Chennai. And my forefather ran a hotel in a ship that plied from Chennai harbour to Rangoon.
Wow.
So, and we lived in a huge joint family structure. So we were always exposed to large-scale cooking. In fact, we used to have the halwais come over. I think every wedding, any function, any festival, we never had food from outside. It was always cooked in our backyard. But my mother was a great cook. She used to cook a lot of food.
And you grew up, you said, in Chennai, in T. Nagar?
In T. Nagar. We still have our ancestral home in T. Nagar. And my inspiration has been my mother and my sisters, of course. They also cook very well.
Right. So, as your name suggests, it's Rigo. So, your husband is from Goa. And you said that his mother
was
is
a Parsi.
a Parsi. So, very interesting, influences,
Yes. Dad-in-law was a Catholic from Goa.
Right.
Actually, they settled although they were Goan, they settled in Kolkata. And Dad used to work at the tea gardens.
Okay.
So we had a lot of influence from there. And Mum was a Parsi.
Right.
And through her, I learnt a lot of Parsi cuisine.
And Goan as well?
Goan as well. And we used to have a lot of friends in Goa. So Goan was cuisine which I really liked. So I learnt a lot about it. And somehow for every birthday, anniversaries, I always used to get recipe books from everybody. And my mother-in-law passed on a lot of recipe books written by the ladies of the tea estate, managers, wives.
Oh, that will be very interesting.
Yeah, those are very, very unique recipes.
Right. You said that you were in the garment line, When did you become a home chef?
Actually, I'm a baker first,
Right.
a Christmas baker. I do rum plum cakes and traditional goodies. I do roast cookies and marzipan and kalkals, and those were taught by my mother-in-law. And that's how I started.
Right.
So I was once a year baker.
Right.
But then hot food, I was always interested. But we also traveled a lot after I got married. We were in Bangalore for a while. We were in Bombay, Mumbai for a while. And then we settled in Gurgaon. So, but Gurgaon was where, because of this melting pot of culture, I sort of tried to experiment with
And you said
food.
you came to Gurgaon about 15 years ago.
Yeah, 2006 to be exactly. So, and then I started slowly, even in Gurgaon, I was working in the garment line. It's been about 7-8 years since I started doing hot food as well. And I think the response has been great.
Right. So good, and now, when you were telling me before we started recording that you like to do everything on your own. You don't want to become a cloud kitchen, So how do you manage it? Sometimes, I know, say, you do big orders for We the Chefs.
Yes.
How do you manage to do everything on your own?
I think the key is in being organized.
How do you organize a week, for instance?
I write down. I belong to the old school of writing down in a book and making a list. And I do my monthly trips to INA and I get my produce from there. And I
for the uninitiated, INA is INA market
in Delhi.
Much favored in Delhi by everyone.
My meats and all that I get from there. Fortunately, we have some South Indian suppliers here as well. Otherwise, I think every 6 months I would get my masalas from my sisters from Chennai. They would pack it and send.